good morning to Chile and good evening to China. Thank you everybody to participating in our webcast of EY, as always. We really, truly, hopefully will be able to present a very interesting survey on EY's study, Chile, Latin America's Hub for Chinese Investment, Reality, Opportunities, and Challenges. We have a very interesting group of people who will be able to provide their perspective, their experience, and years of working. As we know, Chile has been an attractive country for foreign companies to invest in, and as ties with China and Chile becoming stronger, so as the enthusiasm of the Chinese firms doing business in our country. So the question is, what are the most appealing way and industries for Chinese companies to enter the Chilean market? And how does our country compare to its neighbors? What are the main challenges when it comes to investing? And also, what are the cultural differences between two countries when they are operating the organization here? So this is precisely the questions we're aiming to answer in this webcast. Very first of all, some housekeeping work. If you have any questions, please send straight to our Zoom chat so we can discuss your questions later with our panelists. And very first of all, let's welcome Nicolás Bráncoli, our EY tax partner, who is going to present this very interesting study. Thank you. Nico, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Longyan. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen. Give me a second, please. All right. I believe you can see it now. Thank you, Longyan. Glad to be here today. As you mentioned, we have some great guests today to discuss how this great country, China, is looking at our country and also to our region. My mission today is to present the results of a survey that we did in EY, which provides with very interesting results and some key insights on how Chinese investors are approaching the Chilean market and in general, the Latin American market. As we will comment in a few seconds, the results have made a lot of sense to us in relation to what we have seen in the market. We have a team specialized in Chinese clients, of which Longyan is a key part, and with whom we have built teams familiar with the culture, work style, and the needs of Chinese companies, both in Chile and in the rest of Latin America. This one is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this survey, to validate that we had a good understanding of the needs of our clients and also the footprint that China seeks when investing in the region and in the country. You can read between the lines of the survey the spirit of the Chinese go-out policy, the Belt and Road initiatives, and how that is generating a huge impact in our country, in our region, and ultimately in the world. So as I mentioned, this first question is just to see where we are. I mean, it's the most basic questions to get an idea of what we're facing. I mean, to see who is answering this survey, okay? And the question is simple. Have you invested or taken steps to invest in the Chilean market? And the answer to this question was that 63% were already present in our country or were in the process of investing in Chile. Only 38% stated that they had not yet found or had no projects in the pipeline in Chile whatsoever in the short-term period. This helps us to give an idea or some context of who answered this survey, mostly people that already knew the local reality and are aware of the advantages, disadvantages, and difficulties that an investment in our country involves. Next slide, please. A very interesting point to note is that there is a 63% who said that have invested or have taken actions to invest in the Chilean market. Of this percentage, 95% said that Chile was the most attractive market to operate and invest in. Mexico and Brazil, probably due to its size, also appear with relevant percentages. On the other hand, Central America showed that it was, or it is, the region that causes the least interest in Chinese investors for now. This really makes a sense to us in relation to what we have seen in the market. Chile, Brazil, Mexico, and a little further back, Peru and Colombia have been the countries with which we have mostly worked in investments from China. We were probably a bit surprised with the percentage assigned to Chile, but this may logically be affected by the fact that the most of the people who responded and answered the survey had certain level of experience of and knowledge of our country. Most likely, if we would have done this survey a few years ago, the results could have been different. I mean, in recent years, there has been a very important investment position from China. So that helped us to position our country as a good place to invest. Next, please. Next slide, please. Could you please go to the next slide? All right, thanks. Although more than a third said that they had not invested in Chile, all those who answered the survey at least have a slight interest in investing in Latin America. 18% of them were very interested, and 55% somehow interested. Here, there's certainly a room to show our country, I mean, to the world, to China, the region, its benefits, to those who are not familiar with investing in this part of the world. The survey shows that in this percentage, there is a moderate interest for most part, and that fact, without a question, is a huge opportunity to us to show our potential to Chinese investors and to be seen as an attractive place to make their investments. Next slide, please. This slide shows the following. Of those who have not invested in Chile and have expressed interest in the region, were asked which countries have been their first choice to enter Latin America. 67% mentioned Chile, and 33% said Brazil. So Chile continues to be an attractive place to those who have not invested in our country, but have some kind of interest in investing in our region. It is good news for Chile, the results of this, but obviously there is certainly an important room for improvement. Next, please. Finally, within this same question, among those who showed some type of interest, even slightly, in investing in Latin America, they were asked specifically how interested they were in investing in Chile within the next 3 years. And here, 27% answered that they were very interested in investing in the country in this period of time. These are interesting results that invite us to show Chile to the world, to China, because among those who have not invested in the country, it is shown that there is interest in doing so in the short or medium term. This obviously, as mentioned, represents a huge opportunity for our country to invite more Chinese investors every day into our country. Next slide, please. In this slide, and in this part of the survey, I think it's interesting to stop for a second. People were asked to weigh the importance of the following aspects involved in an investment abroad. And it is worth highlighting the first two: political stability and regulations for foreign investments. It is logic, and it seems not only for Chinese investors, but also for any investor, political and regulatory aspects and stability is a key issue. This is a direct message to our country. It is a call for the current processes that we're facing as a country to strengthen our political stability, legal certainty, and solid regulation for foreign investors. We should be focused on the current political processes, seeking to have a more solid position in this sense. Other highly valued aspect when entering into a market are the relationship with the regulatory authorities and the tax structure, also the tax framework of the same country. To be honest, it is not a surprise that the relationship with the regulatory authority is a critical aspect. We have seen not only in Chile, but also in some other countries of South America, that in large scale projects, many times their success depends on the result of the processes before government entities. However, what is interesting though is that the tax environment and tax system is highly considerate. This may show that one of the biggest challenges when investing in a region like ours is to understand properly the tax system of each country with its complexities, different methods, taxes, and so on. Investing in Brazil, for example, is very different from investing in Chile in terms of the tax regime. We have different taxes, systems, and that makes it difficult sometimes to manage for an investor coming from China. An average valuation is given to the macroeconomic context and the opportunities offered in the market, which certainly is something to think about, as these two elements have been typically and historically be deemed as like relevant when making investment decisions. Among the elements that were least valued are the social context, corporate culture, and local talent, elements that, although it is given some importance, are far behind from the other elements. Finally, an interesting point is that although labor regulation is important, it is far from the importance given to the tax system. This is curious because we have seen some investors from other parts of the world who give the same or even greater importance to labor regulation than tax, because of the difficulties and obligations that are involved in this from this perspective. So it is interesting to see that apparently for Chinese investors, the focus is on taxes and not labor itself. But certainly the most important, I would say the key takeaways from this specific slide, is that by far, political and regulatory stability are the essential elements to evaluate when investing into a new market, in the eyes, obviously, of a Chinese investor. That is, without a question, a great message to our country so that we can work in building a more solid and stable political and regulatory environment in the years to come. Next slide, please. So, in line with the elements shown in the previous slide, the survey asks how familiar investors are with these topics in relation to the Chilean market. Here the results are much more even, which shows that there is certainly like some sort of unawareness of many of these elements. This could be also interpreted like some sort of wake-up call in terms of taking a step forward in making our country best known for Chinese investors. The key elements that are best known, I would say, are the macroeconomic context and the competitive advantage of our country. And political stability also presents certain levels of knowledge. It is interesting, though, to see that social context, it is something unknown to Chilean investors. And in line with what we shown in the previous slide, it is not something that is given much importance either when investing in Chile. Go ahead, please. Next slide. All right, now moving on to a more practical question. The question here is, which of the following mechanisms is preferred when entering into a market? And the answer, by far the most preferred, was through a joint venture or alliances. This is consistent with some Chinese investments that we have seen in relevant sectors in Latin America, where Chinese investors have been looking for strategic partners or to face the challenges in the region. The second preferred response is with ownership over the acquired target, but in non-controlling positions. Okay, so this reflects that having a partner or an alliance with some local key player is something that is valued for Chinese investors. They were mentioned, but much less preferred: minority passive investments, mergers, full acquisitions, but without a doubt, very far from the percentages assigned to alliances or joint ventures with local partners. Next slide, please. All right, moving on. In this slide, it is analyzed the sectoral interest. That is, which sectors were the ones that attracted the most attention at the time of an investment in Chile and the region. The first places are for logistics, transport, and ports, followed closely by infrastructure, and then with an identical percentage, energy and mining. Further behind comes the financial and tech sector, along with utilities. We have seen certain interest in the market in the agribusiness sector, but for some reason that interest that we have seen is not reflected in the response, which was assigned a much lower percentage than the sectors just mentioned. Next slide, please. Okay, to finish here, here are shown the main problems that are relevant when buying a business or entering into the market. In other words, what are the main headaches for an investor when investing in Latin America? The main aspects are the tax issues with a percentage above the rest. This is interesting and in line with the answer that we commented a few minutes ago. Apparently, tax regulation, its complexity in terms of understanding it and also to be in fully compliant, makes it a critical aspect for Chinese investors when entering into a new market. Certainly, tax aspects are relevant. A low understanding, poor choices, or compliance challenges can produce very negative effects on the business outcome and ultimately on the success of the investment itself. So in line with this, regulatory aspects are also given considerable importance. As we mentioned, in many projects, the regulatory part is a critical issue for their success. So it makes sense that it's among the first on the list. A very interesting fact is that the cultural aspect is second, and accordingly, and based on this, is a very highly valued factor for Chinese investors. So the truth is that we have seen that many companies do not take this into account, or maybe I would say seriously enough. And this is basically how to align the culture of the local company with the culture of the Chinese investor. We have worked in projects in which we have seen these differences and the importance of achieving a good understanding in order to have a fluid and an efficient communication to ensure good results and to be certain that the local administration is in line with the vision of the new Chinese owner or shareholder. Reputational damage, conflict with other shareholders, relationship with the community are all elements that were mentioned, but with less importance. All right, with this, we have finished the main aspects and elements of our survey. I hope this was clear enough. Do not worry, we will send it over to you, to all participants. And now with this information, we will go to the discussion panel where we can go deeper on these topics and other that are relevant for Chinese investors when looking at our region and country. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Nico. Very interesting. And as Nico just mentioned, we're going to share all this study to the audience. And so you can look into details, all the work that we've done. So we've got a really interesting 3 panelists. And let's hear their feedback on this survey that EY did, analysis and report. And I'm very honored to present these three amazing individuals. The very first is Miss Yan Yao. She is the Secretary General of Organizing Committee of the China-Latin America Regional Cooperation Forum. She has been committed to promoting exchanges and cooperation between China and other countries' regions. In 2019, after integrating the resources of government departments, of business associations, universities, and Latin American research centers, the very first forum was successfully held, followed by, because of COVID, the second online forum in 2020. And this year, 2021, in November, it will host the 14th China Latin America Entrepreneur Summit. And then our second panelist is Francisco Silva. He is the president of China-Chile Business Council of SOFOFA and founding partner and chairman of the board of Grupo Security. With broad experience in the financial sector, he has served on the boards of numerous reputable companies. He was chairman of ICARE from 2011 to 2013 and was voted Businessman of the Year in 2016 by EY and El Mercury newspaper. Last but not least, it's the EY tax leading partner, Javiera Contreras.
Hi, everybody.
She is the head of EY's tax service line, advising large national and international companies. During her career at EY, she was recognized in international tax consulting for the mining industry and the creation of investment structure for multinational companies. She was chosen as one of 100 women leaders in Chile by El Mercury newspaper in 2016. So very interesting audience, very interesting panelists. We're eager to hear each of your experiences. So may I start with Francisco Silva? Through your years of experience working with China and Chile-China relationship, I was wondering if you can give us some general feedback of this survey and of the results, and what do you see the relationship of Chile-China relationship?
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning to everybody in Chile. Good evening for everybody in China. For me, it's a pleasure to join this panel. And let me give you a few ideas. While I was hearing about the survey that EY had conducted, and I could appreciate that Chile was in the very first places of all the attractiveness for investing for the Chinese company. It came to my mind that this is not by chance. It's not something that happened because it just happened. It's the consequence of a very long tradition of close relationships. This year, in December, we will be 51 years that we opened a diplomatic relationship with China, the second country in the world and the first country in Latin America to open such relationships. In fact, we opened them about 9 years before the US opened relationships with China. So since then, we have been building a very close contact. We have been exchanging ideas. We have been trading first at the beginning in small amounts, but now huge amounts. We have multiplied by 20 our foreign trade with China, in both ways, the imports and exports in the last 20 years. And that means that the Chinese people, the Chinese businessmen, the Chinese establishment of business really distinguishes and appreciates our country for the quality of its products, especially in the mining sector, in the pulp and paper sector, in the food sector, which is so key to the Chinese people. And therefore, all those contacts and all that trade was nothing else that the beginning of a very fruitful relationship, which now, as we were mentioning at the beginning, has translated itself in investments. The Chinese investments at the beginning were not very substantial, but now they are really very, very, very big. It's predicated on the signing of a free trade agreement and free investment agreement in 2005, which started the big explosion, I would say, of trade between our countries. Also, we have been very close partners in international forums. Chile declared that China was a really free market economy that enabled her to enter the World Organization of Trade in 2007 or 6, I don't remember the exact year. And of course, all those events allow us to establish more and more a close relationship and to exchange in a very substantial manner the way we do business. I would say, and probably this is a bias of my career, that the whole investment explosion started after 2 Chinese banks opened their branch here in Chile. And why did it happen? Because, as you know, investments are very close to the financial issues. And once you have a Chinese partner, once you have a Chinese bank here in Chile, it's much easier for the companies that are looking for investment opportunities in a country to establish a financial relationship, and then, of course, start conducting your business through those banks. Also, two key issues that have happened in the past and will also enable us to even make more deep and more fruitful our relationships is that we joined the Belt and Road Initiative back in 2017, and we became members of the Asian Bank that China is a very important shareholder. And once you have that relationship of international financing with a country like China, everything becomes much easier and everything becomes much closer, and everything can be conducted in a much better way. So, as I say, there are many, many reasons, but today we have to look forward, not to look backwards. And in order to look forward and see that we have some threats, we have some political instability in the horizon, and as we said at the beginning of the presentation, we have to take care of this relationship and to make sure that we are giving the right messages to our Chinese partners. I think that we are doing it in a good way. I think that panels like this one we are having this morning are a very important manner, a very important way of establishing, and answering questions and establishing a more straightforward relationship. I think that those are the comments I could give you up until now. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Francisco. Impressive numbers and impressive contributions of also in the financial sector with Chile-China trade. May I move the mic to Ms. Yan? We'd be interested because you've done a lot of work across Latin America. So I was wondering, from your experience, of what do you think Chile as the hub, administrative hub for Latin America, how do you see that from your experience?
Hello.
您说。
虽然说受到疫情的不确定性影响，致力了
affected by many factors, including the
仍然是
uncertainties
对中国的投资者来
the
说，仍然是
pandemic.
最好的拉美国家之一。
Chile still maintains the most important investment destination for China.
智利的投资吸引力主要表现在开放程度高、法治健全、廉洁程度高、营商环境好。
are shows in the following aspects, like the large scale of opening up some legal system, high degree of government
大家都知道，去年就是
integrity,
2020年是一个不平凡的一年，就是我们全世界、全球都遭受了新冠肺炎。 但是在如此艰难的环境下，中国和智利仍然举行了各种丰富多样的庆祝活动，来回顾双边在建交50周年，在经贸、科技、文化、旅游、 教育方面的一些合作的成果，再一次在世界的角度提升了中智的那个关系的热度。从我身边最有实力的例子就是今年的7月8日，智利驻成都总领事馆正式开馆，然后总领事馆的馆区包括四川省、重庆市、贵州省、云南省和陕西省。我相信那个智利方面也曾经把重庆作为那个在西部设立领馆的备选城市之一。然后对于我们那个中国老百姓来讲，对中智关系不断深化最直观的感受就是出现在我们的餐桌上有车厘子、红酒、三文鱼、牛肉、牛油果、蓝莓、帝王蟹这些农产品和海产品是越来越多。然后我感觉对智利老百姓来说呢，最直观的感受应该是在2019年10月，圣地亚哥开通了一条绿色公交路线。那么这条路线的运用的车辆呢，就是我们来自中国自主品牌的比亚迪生产的纯电动大巴。对于我个人来讲呢，智利也是一个非常有吸引力的国家。然后第一个交集就是在2019年4月，那个总统皮涅拉参加了那个第2届“一带一路”高峰合作论坛。当时我和我的那个团队呢，就到北京去参加了那个驻华大使馆举办的这个活动。这个活动是智利创新与投资峰会，然后聆听了皮涅拉总统的演讲，以及皮涅拉总统和中国互联网企业精英的一个现场的圆桌对话。那么我总体感觉呢，皮涅拉总统是一个非常开明的国家领导人。那么第二呢，就是为了积极的响应包括智利在内的中拉各国领导人的倡议，我和我的团队就是在当年2019年的11月，我们就举办了首届中拉区域合作论坛，在重庆举办的，然后邀请了来自北京、成都、广州的一些学者和中国驻拉美国家的一些大使、一些经济参赞，以及来自拉美本土的一些商协会的友好朋友，一起围绕一个话题展开了讨论，然后开展了为期2天的论坛活动。那么我们这个主题就是如何以重庆为圆心，把重庆西部和拉美地区连接起来。然后我们主要是从经贸的渠道和那个学术的渠道进行了那个讨论，然后达成了一些合作方面的共识。所以我们这个品牌中拉区域合作论坛也从此在这个中拉圈那个打响。各位朋友，包括境外的朋友和境内的朋友，对我们这个品牌的支持，也是我们是持续打造这个系列活动的一个积极的动力。然后第三呢，就是从2015年到2019年，我是多次参加了在北京和上海的举办的智利周的活动。然后2019年呢，我们单位有一个公务团队，到访了智利，与圣地亚哥的金塔洛马尔市政府和圣地亚哥的大区文化委员会等机构开展了面对面的交流和对接。然后2020年的7月呢，因为受新冠肺炎的影响，所以但是我们还是要持续把这个中拉之间的交流合作这个工作开展下去。我们就举办了那个和智利贸易投资促进局合作举办的智利可持续发展论坛，同那个投诉局的高级顾问、智利的城市规划师等方面的一些朋友，讨论了如何在可持续发展领域进行中智合作。
The Chile Forum on Sustainable Development jointly and discussed the China-Chile cooperation in sustainable development with pro-Chile senior business consultants and urban planners.
这个意思是。OK。
Thank you very much, Ms. Yao. Unfortunately, somehow the translator didn't work. I'll give a brief summary of what just been mentioned. So Ms. Yao basically mentioned her experience in Latin America, especially in Chile, and her, of course, not only experience coming to Chile, but also her experience of encountering various, such as product from Chile, such as cherries, such as salmon, and she herself have experienced also participated in various Chile Week in China. At the same time, meeting the president of Biniera here in China on the Belt Initiative opening ceremonies. So she definitely recalls various different good memories. At the same time, she believes Chile is a center of the investment in terms of various different structures and political stabilities, as corresponding with our EY survey as well. So thank you again, Ms. Yao, and we hope to hear more of insights next time. Now, let me move to Javiera. With your various international experiences working with Chinese companies, I was wondering, what would you say is the role of an advisor in these transactions, in these trade, and what can we contribute to give it more structure or, let's say, values to this trade?
Okay, so hi everybody. Thank you, Longyan, for that question. I would say that even though EY EY Chile is part of a global organization, and in that context, of course, our day-to-day and part of our DNA is to provide advice to international investors, we identified that the Chinese investment required a different skill set. So it was not the same what we had been doing for many, many years, right? Advising US investors or European investors. And when suddenly we started receiving Chinese investment. So it was not one size fits all for us, right? So we understood that we had to make a difference if we wanted this to work, because in 2015, we had one client from a Chinese investor. And in the last year, we are exceeding 15, which is a significant increase, right? So we understood that one of the first things that was required is to face the challenge of language and culture. That's the first thing, right? There are many technical things to face, of course, but if you're not able to communicate clearly, there's nothing to build on, right? So one of the first things we identified is, okay, we're going to need a special team that needs to be trained to provide service to the Chinese investors. And for that, we built a multidisciplinary team, right, that had Chinese native professionals that could teach us all that participate in that team, what is the correct protocol, what is the timing and expectations that a Chinese investor requires, which, as I said, is very different from what we, in our experience, we face with Europeans or with US investors. So we understood that we needed to start using WeChat, that timing was of essence, that you cannot respond 2 or 3 days later. You need to respond that day, and you need to respond that you're looking and solving an issue. You also need to understand that in their internal process, the decision-making process is very different than from what we knew before, right? There's lots of hierarchy, so they need to pass their decision from one level to another, and that takes time. Therefore, preparation for the decision makers needs to be done really fast so that they have enough time for their internal processes. We also learned that since from a cultural perspective, Chinese investors maybe have a harder time to understand the Latin landscape, because Argentinians and Chileans are totally different. Brazilians and Chileans are different. Peruvians are different. So all these different cultures, although we are neighbor countries, for doing business in each country, you need to understand some key elements, right? And the Chilean business community is a very close community. So to enter that community, to understand who are the key players, who could be a good partner to form a JV is not an easy one. And for a Chinese investor, it's even more difficult, right? So we understood that we had a key role to do that, to provide, let's say, like a tailor-made soft landing protocol for them so that they could really land in Chile, understanding what are the key elements they need to sort out, how they can face a transaction, face all those elements that came out in the survey, the due diligence process, right? Understanding who could be a good alliance, commercial due diligence of the landscape, key players, and so on. And then after going through all the process of the transaction, then really comes the difficulty, because one thing is to get the target, the acquisition, and then it's to operate it adequately with two cultures, the Chinese culture and the Chilean culture, because it's an ongoing business, and maybe even has stakeholders that are from other third countries, right? So that post-integration of the target into the Chinese operation is key, right? So we also understood there was a need there to provide a short-term plans of post-acquisition integration so that the company could rapidly be set up, right? The integration between the Chinese investor and the operating entity, so it could fluidly face the challenges it has. So I think that our role is very comprehensive. We have to be on top of all this uncertainty in terms of regulations, right? Taxes and labor, the Constitution, the DL 600, the contracts that some mining investments still have. So everything is today under review, let's say. So keeping our Chinese investors with enough information so that they can take decisions is critical. And although Chinese investors like risk, of course, it's an informed risk, which is different, right? It's not just, I like risk, whatever it is. There are certain types of risk I can take and others I don't. So our role there is also, I think, what add value. I would say that is a short summary, Longyan, of my view of what our role as advisors is.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Javi. Actually, we've got a couple of minutes left only, and I was looking at some of the questions, and one very interesting question for you, Mr. Francisco Silva, is Ms. Yao mentioned the interest of Chinese investment, and also the results our survey demonstrate that interest in Chile as well. What do you think from the Chilean entrepreneurs, business, let's say, circle perspective? What do you think the Chinese company need to equip in order for them to enter the market, to operate in Chile, culturally understanding each other? And what do you think that what the Chinese company should equip with? I'm sorry, you're on mute.
That doesn't help very much in communicating when you are muted. No, but I guess as we have been hearing throughout the speeches, the presentations, for the Chinese businessmen to establish here in Chile has many difficulties just because of the mere fact of being in the other side of the world. I mean, it's 12 hours difference. It's a language that is not possible for us to learn easily. And also culturally and from business perspectives, we have very different backgrounds. But as we just heard, I mean, it's very useful for the Chinese companies to have a partner here, either a strategic partner, either people like from Ernst & Young, as you were mentioning, that will allow them to open and to walk through all the difficulties which are difficult for them, and also they are difficult for us. I mean, our tax laws are totally incomprehensible. We need more than one Ernst & Young next to our side when we have to pay our taxes. Of course, not to mention the labor laws and the foreign investment laws. But those can be as I say, touched upon and can be successfully encountered if you have this type of local partnership. And also very important is to establish a mutual relationship of trust and understanding. It's not very difficult for us to understand that the Chinese culture is so different from ours. But on the other hand, it's based upon and it relies on very fundamental values like trust, like being very punctual, respecting your commitments, answering back your communication, and also this type of I would say cultural way of doing business, which I think is very useful for us. I mean, don't do many things at a time. Do one thing step by step next to the other one. And respect the other person in many details. Sometimes we are very rude with people. We are not. We don't take into consideration other people's feelings, other people's points of view, and it has created us many problems, both in the social and in the political aspect, that sometimes we are not respectful with everybody. Those type of things, if we work upon them, at least it has been my experience that I have built a relationship for 20 years with our Chinese counterparts, and of course now we feel like close people, like friends. So I guess those would be my remarks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Francisco. I'm sure you also have a lot of good memories traveling to China, no?
Absolutely, absolutely. I forgot the number of times I've been there, but it's been quite a few.
May I ask Javiera to comment on what just Francisco said? Considering the regulations, of course, the Chinese company needs to equip. Any other aspect do you think? Of course, you guys as Chileans, what you would expect Chinese company to be equipped with coming here?
Yeah, well, maybe that question for me is why is this Chinese investment or Chinese players so important for our market today, right? So for me, it's a broader question at the end, because I think that Chinese evidently bring capital into the country, but they bring a lot more. They bring their experience, their broad experience in infrastructure, in which we have still a long road to go, right? And I think they bring also a lot of opportunities to put technology in the center of the business model, right? They've been there, they've done that, they are at the front, right? So we need to leverage on what they bring into the country. They are not only our copper buyers or our salmon buyers, or they're our stakeholders in some key energy or infrastructure companies. I think they bring all this value into the country, this intangible, which is their way of working, right? Their work ethics, their like I said, their view on technology and how the business models need to be constantly changing, that I think challenges the traditional way of doing business here in Chile. And I think that would be, for me, one of the most interesting elements, besides, of course, that they are today a key investor globally, right? Who could not want the Chinese investment to come into the country? I think us as a country need to provide, as I think Francisco already said, stability, enough stability at least for those investors to keep interested in Chile as maybe their first landing spot for LATAM, and learning how to be good partners to them. So we also have work to do, right, to receive all that contribution.
Fantastic. Looking forward to all that synergy. And I think just to add on top of it, it's definitely diversity in Chile. We see various investment coming from different countries, Europe, United States, and I think that definitely contributes part of the diversified investment here. I wish we can continue the conversation, but time is running out. And thank you very much again for Ms. Yao. Stay so late in the evening, and also for Javi and Francisco. We wish to continue another interesting conversation and play each hour's role to shaping and helping this business relationship between Chile and China. And thank you all the audience. Thank you very much everybody for participating.
Wait a moment. Wait a moment.
Yes.
Take a picture. Take a picture.
Yes.
We can take a picture. Open your video. Okay.
Perfect.
We are with the open video and the mic open.
Yes. Maria. Philip.
No, I think we're fine, Miss Yao.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Adios.